Welcome to Her Remarkable History. Remember, to support our channel, please subscribe. The remarkable Tudor intelligence of Mary Arundell. The term Renaissance covers a period in European history that encapsulates the Tudor period. It signals an end of the sometimes considered backwards medieval period, and the beginning of a time in which classical ideas were revived, and where people took more of a conscious effort to learn. An intellectual basis of the Renaissance was from humanism, which was promoting a love of learning, and the new thoughts at the time were centred around interests in art, history, architecture, and many other disciplines. Inside the Tudor aristocracy in England, there were a number of figures who would regard as Renaissance men and women, people who embraced the changes to society and tried to grasp developments. The Renaissance saw writers such as Shakespeare and Marlowe flourish, with others such as Thomas More writing epic works during the reign of King Henry VIII. However, there was a woman who was allegedly described at court during the reign of Henry as one of the most learned women at the time. Her intelligence and love for knowledge and information was unrivalled at court. Mary Arundell was born to Sir John Arundell and his second wife, Catherine Grenville. She was the only child of the couple, and she came from a rather noble family. Her father was the son and heir of Sir Thomas Arundell. He, following the death of King Richard III, switched his support to Henry Tudor, and his marriage to Catherine Dynham brought him a great amount of wealth, which was still felt in the family when Mary was born. Under Henry VII's reign, Mary's father John had become the Receiver General of the Duchy of Cornwall, and was also knighted. He led soldiers against Cornish rebels against Henry VII, and was appointed a Justice of the Peace in that region. He was seen as an enforcer in the West Country, and through his work he gained the support of the monarchy. Sir John's first marriage did link him to the throne tenuously, but following her death he married Catherine, Mary's mother. Their marriage was approved by papal dispensation. Mary did have a half-brother, Sir John Arundell, who Mary's father's son, and he was considered to be the heir to his estates. She had other half-siblings too, other brothers and 3 sisters. One of her half-brothers, Sir Thomas Arundell of Wardour, married Margaret Howard, the sister of the later Queen Catherine Howard, the 5th wife of Henry VIII. And she was also a first cousin of Queen Anne Boleyn, Henry's second wife. This shows how the Arundell family were linked to the royalty and the aristocracy. He later would be executed upon Tower Hill for his involvement in plotting to overthrow the government and to murder the Earl of Warwick, John Dudley, during the reign of Edward VI. Despite protesting his innocence, he was beheaded on Tower Hill and was buried inside the chapel of St. Peter ad Vincula, inside the walls of the Tower of London. Mary Arundell, it's believed, was born in 1517, meaning that when she came to court in 1538, she was around the age of 19. It's likely that her family had big hopes for her at court, and that they hoped that she would marry a wealthy courtier, or possibly even someone of royalty. It was important that women of aristocracy and nobility knew how to play court and how to behave, and it was hoped that through marriage her family's future could be secured for generations to come. Mary was prominent within the inner parts of court too, and she was well liked by Henry VIII. She was rewarded by serving as a lady-in-waiting for at least 2 of Henry VIII's queens, Jane Seymour and Anne of Cleves. She was even a maid of honour to Jane and would have been a close confidant to the Queen. She was also in the first chariot of Jane Seymour's funeral procession. Being a lady-in-waiting was considered to have been a big privilege, and in this role Mary flourished. She would later also serve as a lady in the household of Queen Mary I, showing that she knew what she was doing at court. Whilst at court, her half-brother arranged for her to marry Robert Radcliffe, the 1st Earl of Sussex. He was a prominent soldier and courtier inside Henry VII's and Henry VIII's court, and also worked as the Chamberlain of the Exchequer, and also there's Lord Great Chamberlain. These were 2 very high-profile jobs. He was significantly older than Mary as well. He had married twice before, But the match was approved by Thomas Cromwell, but Mary's status at court was growing further. She was regarded as one of the most intelligent, well-read and learned women of her time, and certainly was considered to have had the intellectual edge over most of those men and women at court. She showed a keen interest in translating works, and in particular has been stated as being the alleged translator of the sayings and doings of the Emperor Severus and the select sentences of the 7 wise men of Greece. With this, it is interesting to consider that whilst most women at court were focused on impressing men and trying to secure a marriage, Mary would possibly have had her head in a book, working on translations. There is speculation, however, that some work attributed to her actually belonged to her stepdaughter Mary, the later Duchess of Norfolk, who was also a skilled translator. It is considered also that further work which was attributed to her was in fact translated by her stepdaughter, Mary FitzAlan, and that the confusion came because of her dedication to the Earl of Arundell. It's likely that Mary's love of learning was passed on to her stepdaughter. Despite these confusions, it's still considered that Mary was a very skilled and learned woman. She did give birth to 2 children. Her first was born in 1538, but died in infancy, and also another boy named Sir John Radcliffe. The Earl of Sussex died in 1542, and Mary Arundell later remarried Henry FitzAlan, the 12th Earl of Arundel. He was a Knight of the Garter, as was another prominent courtier at court during the reign of Henry VIII, being the Deputy of Calais, and he also served in the court of Edward VI, Mary I and Elizabeth I. This made Henry FitzAlan unique, as he served in the court of 4 Tudor monarchs, despite their religious differences. She continued to serve at court, and in the reign of Mary I, she was also noted to have been at court before she was taken ill. Around the 20th of October 1557, Mary Arundel passed away at Bath House in London. She was buried at the church of St Clement Danes, but later a lead coffin was found that held her remains at Arundell Castle. Why she was moved remains a mystery, as she was moved from the church in Westminster, a significant way to Arundell Castle. She was then interred in a vault beneath the floor of the FitzAlan Chapel. Mary Arundel was a classic Tudor woman of the nobility. She was raised inside a very prominent household, and as predicted at court, made a significant impact. The fact Cromwell signed off on her marriages to important and major men at court shows us that he and the king must have approved these, and therefore she was popular, well liked, and never crossed the monarchy. She was seen as a skilled lady to Henry VIII's queens and later Mary I, although there is debate regarding her alleged authorship of several translations and works of the scholarly merit. There isn't any debate around her high status at court. She was described, allegedly, as a root and has been believed to have been intelligent and keen to learn. Thank you for watching, and to support, please subscribe to Her Remarkable History. Thank you.